E aloha e kai ala ai ka ama ama. Ai ka ala ai ka lava ai ka ho'omoe.
Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain.
Welcome back to this wonderful series. At least I hope it's wonderful for you and giving you plenty of ideas to what I call Vignette 2. Every region has a reason. And don't forget, you had a homework assignment. I hope you did it. But at least think about a place that pops into your mind and really put yourself in that place and describe that place. Pretend you're really, really there. And that was the last assignment. We're going to be using some of the packet now from here on out as far as these vignettes, part of this series, okay? Every region has a reason. So there are plenty reasons for regions, okay? Let's do something crazy, huh? All right. I want you to visualize a pile of random shoes, okay? Yep. I know. You heard right. Visualize it. Different sizes, different styles, different colors. Just visualize you taking everything out of your closet, if you will, and piling them up in the middle of your floor. And if you have a significant other, pile his or her shoes up on the floor and just mix them all up. Okay? So there you go. Different sizes and styles. All right. Those of you that can't visualize, just visualize a mess of shoes, like in that particular photo. So here's a question. What would you do to create a sense of order out of those pile of shoes? Think about that. So what would you do to create a sense of order with that pile of shoes that you're imagining, or maybe not imagining? I provided a picture for you. So I want you to describe this arrangement to somebody, or think about it on your own. Describe your arrangement, okay? Well, guess what? You probably have created a region. Okay. Why? Well, you probably know why. Because there, from that pile of shoes, you probably have done this in your mind. You probably have put like shoes with other like shoes. Okay? By the way, can you name at this point in your mind a specific region? Can you think of a specific region? Okay, think of that for a while. Hold that thought. So, let's go back to the shoes again. You created some sort of uniformity. You created some sort of common or commonality. Color sameness, if you will, pattern sameness. I don't think, you might have, but I don't think you did anything random. Even if you think you did, like putting every other shoe, maybe a green and then a red and then a white and then repeated. I don't know. Maybe you did. Maybe you did some kind of a random thing, okay? So let's go for definition. Large or small area or place, okay, any place like that, with common characteristics is considered a region. Could be large, could be small. But remember, common characteristics, that's the key. All right? So all landscapes and places have boundaries, as do regions, right? Okay? So they don't have to be boundaries like this, which is literally a border boundary, where you have to stop. It could be more of a, if you will, soft boundary, okay? All places are a product of their site and unique situational factors. So there's a reason why, remember the first vignette, the first in the series? There's a reason why places are where they are. This is a university map. There's a reason why that university is there, okay? It's a product of its situational, if you will, status or factors, okay? So all places have boundaries, but we can map those boundaries, and it can really include actual and mental constructs, okay, that create regions. Some places, the boundaries are sort of loosey-goosey, if you will. Sometimes they're not very definitive. They're not clearly marked, okay? Sometimes we do some stereotypical regions. This is a map of stereotypical foods, if you will. These could be considered regions. I know where I am in the middle of the country right here, I guess we're the fried okra region, okay, if we're going to stereotype. So you get the idea. Hawaii, I don't know if you can see this, is the pineapple region, if we can stereotype. Areas of common characteristics, those are regions. All regions have a focus. Every single region, every single unique place with those characteristics could be political focus, could be physical focus, could be economic, or could be cultural. Here's some examples. There's a political, if you will, region right there. It's your state, okay? Or it could be your county, or it could be something very, very defined, if you will. There's a physical region right there. It could be a place where resources are gathered, a place, it could even be mountains, it could be rivers. Those are physical landscape attributes. You could be in an area that has a lot of, and all of us do, economic, if you will, focus. And of course the economic focus could be this is a touristy kind of thing in our state. It's called the Dunes area. And maybe it reaps those tourist dollars, who knows. That could be considered an economic region. Cultural regions could be things like Chinatown or other cultural entities or specific places in your town or your community. Let's look at types of regions. Let's look at those very quickly. First of all, we've got formal regions. They're very, very uniform. Maybe it could be a physical feature. Maybe it could be a cultural, kind of thing. How about climate? That's a formal region. Physical feature, like a particular set of mountains, maybe the Rocky Mountains, okay? Maybe a particular ethnic group. This is where the, I don't know, maybe where the Chinese people live, or maybe this is where the Vietnamese people live, or whatever. It could be a particular language. This is where this language is spoken. That could be a formal region. It could be economic, or it could be political. That's a formal region. Uniformity. Uniformity is a key to those. Functional regions, they're defined by all those wonderful interactions. It could be trade interactions, it could be transportation, it could be communication. Those are all interactions that are considered part of a region that has functionality to it, or functions, okay? Vernacular regions, these are the fun ones to deal with, especially with your students. They're sort of widespread, they're sort of like pop kind of cultural kind of things. They're popular, or they're perceived things of a particular place or area that exist. We have what we call in our state historically, our panhandle is considered no man's land. Well, what are the borders of no man's land? Or is that just a popular phrase? Why was it called that? Maybe you've got some places in your state or your area that are just widespread, common, popular kind of perceptual kind of things. All right, let's look at a formal region up close and personal. Here we go. Remember, uniformity. Generally, more defined boundaries, okay? Driving physical, cultural, economic, or political traits. I highlighted cultural and I highlighted political. So here we go. That is a region that is very cultural. When I visit my relatives in Ohio, that's the Amish, if you will, or Mennonite region. And of course they have a particular way of life, a particular mode, if you will, of transportation, and that is a region all in itself. Maybe you've got an interesting cultural region in your particular area. A political, if you will, region, very, very formal, okay? Well, here's a state. Your state is considered a very formal region because of its what? Of that uniformity, okay? And of course this is part of a state, Hawaii. This is Oahu, so this is not the entire state of Hawaii, but you get the idea. It's very, very formal, okay? Functional regions, they are the ones with interactions. I'm sure if you really start looking at the place where you live, there's a lot of functions going on in your area. It could be organized around a function or a node. A node is a central point, if you will, where things come and go. It's movement between those points. So I'm sure that where you live, you've got lots of, if you will, interactions. You've got lots of movement between various points. A typical map could be, as far as the functional region, is maybe a subway system or maybe some sort of transit system or something like that. That's functional, going from point A to point B. For instance, like this, my Hawaiian friends will be happy to know that a lot of these examples are for you. And so here we go. Your city, no matter where you live, by the way, you don't have to live in Hawaii, has all kinds of interesting bus routes, maybe transportation routes, and that's all part of a functional region, serves some sort of function, okay? And this is the proposed bus plan, if you will. Boy, this is a fun one. Remember, vernacular regions are popular or cultural or perceptual regions. So ask your students, hey, in the United States, can you name me a region? I don't know. Maybe some will say, oh, the Great Plains. Or somebody say, oh, the Corn Belt. Somebody might say, depending upon the level of your students, they may say, oh, the Bible Belt, or whatever. And so this is a map of just perceptual kind of things that we think of when we think of these really loosey-goosey kind of regions, all right? All are perceived. It's sort of like a collective thought process, if you will. It could be cultural, it could be economic, political, physical places. I mean, the plains, that's a physical place. I don't know, economics. I mean, certainly the old Rust Belt where they used to produce, cars, Detroit, that area, that could be an economic, along with maybe the wine. I don't know if you can see it over here, the wine region. Political and physical places, I don't know, maybe we can call political, maybe Mex America, physical places. Again, you get the idea. You get the idea about these popular regions. So you have a lot of fun with that with your students. General widespread acceptance. A lot of people say, oh, yeah, that is the Bible Belt. I see why. Or, oh, okay, yeah, that's the Corn Belt. I can understand that. That kind of thing. Sometimes nicknames, if you will. Like the Rust Belt over here, that's a nickname. And then, of course, no sharp borders. I mean, this map doesn't have very sharp borders, does it? And, of course, it may be based upon all kinds of environmental features, too. And that might be things dealing with lakes or things dealing with other things of that nature, or actually things dealing with environmental problems too. That could be a region. If somebody perceives a particular area to have a particular environmental problem, who knows? So here we go. Regions are formal, functional, or popular. Remember, their fancy name for that is vernacular, and they have uniformity, right? There we go again. What is that? That is a formal, a functional, or a popular. It's probably more formal. Sure, it's functional. Remember our definition, functional meaning there's all kinds of connections and movement there. They have political, physical, economic, or cultural, or geographic focus. I mean, you can argue that this particular map right here of Oahu is political, yes. It has physical features, the mountains there. It has economic importance. It has cultural importance. Actually, when you look at some of these things, you can argue all over the place that, yes, all of those are there, okay? And, of course, if you look up at close and personal, as far as Oahu is concerned, regions are large and small, but whoa, horsies, okay, regions are within regions. So don't get the idea that, okay, I've got a region, oop, that's it. Within that region, there are all kinds of other smaller regions. So regions are within regions. A little more detective work. So we're going to take a trip. We're going to go and look at this particular building, right? Basically, before we go on that trip, we're going to look at the historical photo of that building. And here's what we're going to think about. Is this part of a formal region, just by looking at this picture and that bottom historical picture? Is this part of a functional region? Is this part of a vernacular, or, if you will, a popular region? Okay, let's see.
Is indicative
of a particular, if you will, region. It has a place in this region. It's a historical place. Today it's a restaurant, but I want you to figure out if this building right here and what you have just seen behind me, is this part of a formal, a functional, or a vernacular region? You be the judge. Look at the symbol on the building. Look at all of these clues. Remember, you're the geodetective. Formal, functional, or vernacular region. I'll see you soon. Welcome back. We just were detectives, or at least we're trying to figure this whole thing out. Well, now you probably know the answer. And what you saw there from that building was basically, and that old shot too, was basically something that said, oh, wait a minute, what? It is an interurban, it is a train station, and of course that was that symbol. Interurbans were light rail, if you will, train connections to various cities in Oklahoma, and of course in other places in the country too. And we had one of our own interurbans that connected, if you will, by these trolley-looking rail cars to various cities nearby. So, wow. But what do you think? Formal, functional, vernacular, which is popular? Well, obviously, I would hope you're thinking that this is a functional region. Connections, okay? All right. Let's move on. So, remember your place? You know, that place that was your assignment, and you wrote down that place that you thought of, that place that you put yourself into. Hey, what's your regional focus of your place? Maybe drag that paper out. I hope you have it with you, but think about it, okay? Physical, political, economic, or cultural, you know, the place that you wrote down, the place that you put yourself in. What type of region? Was it formal, functional, or vernacular? Okay? So start thinking about these examples. Have your students do the same thing if you want to do a lesson on regions, if you will, okay? And of course, you can have a picture, you can have a photo. Hopefully you'll be able to have your students go out in the field and do stuff like this. But if not, hey, do a photo and say, listen, what's the regional focus there? Must be, by the way, those are grapes, must be wine. Yeah, okay. That is more of a physical, economic kind of thing. Could even be cultural, if you will. Who knows, even political. And then what type of region, if I'm looking at grapes and grape growing in California, or really places that have grapes and wine, is it formal, functional, or vernacular? Pretty much it could be formal because it is a specific growing area. Wait a minute, it could be functional because those grapes are pressed, made into wine, and of course that wine is transported all over that region or the world. And it could be a popular, the wine growing region, or that's maybe Napa. Well, what is Napa? Yeah, it could be a very physical, specific place, but in people's minds it could be even more beyond that. So you get the idea. A couple other things before I leave you guys. Regional characteristics. Every region has a really, really strong area to it. This is the corn belt, and the dark green that you see here is the core. It's the strongest defining representation. Maybe that's where the most bushels of corn are grown. Who knows? And actually, that's what it is. The peripheral areas are in the lighter green. Those are weaker, maybe a little less corn growing there, but you get the idea. Outliers could be places that grow corn. They could either be lots of bushels or not so many bushels, and you can see over here in Louisiana, you can see a little bit in Texas Panhandle. You can see some of these, and of course other places in the United States, what we call outliers. So regions have core areas, they have peripheral areas, and of course they have outliers. Let's start thinking. Now, if you're with a buddy or two, or you're in a room that has other people, let's start discussing things. Let's look at both these maps. They have similarities to them, and they have differences to them. Top map looks a little vague, huh? Bottom map, those are counties. Okay, that's a county profile of the United States. Okay, let's see what happens here. So which map, here we go, here's your quiz of the day. Which map is political or physical? Well, when I look at these two maps, I'm going to pause a little bit. You're going to think a little bit. Well, I know for sure one is very political. Actually, both of them are, because here are political units, the states and the United States. Wow. Either of these maps physical? Do either of these maps show, if you will, a really strong physical landscape feature like mountains or rivers or things like that? Not really. Not really. That's why I put physical. I highlighted physical there. Economic focus? Yeah, you betcha. I mean, there's all kinds of economic things going on within these particular counties and regions of the United States. Cultural? Boy, you betcha. Because what I'm focusing on here is Latter-day Saints, the Mormon population, and that's why you see on this map in the state of Utah, you see such a concentration, such a dark concentration. Remember core, periphery, all right? Yep, so we're looking at cultural. I still don't know about this one. That's the top map. That's a real question mark. Cultural, what in the heck could that be? I don't know. Formal? Are there formal regions on this map? Yeah, you betcha. The counties, the states, very, very defined. You better believe it. This definitely up here in the upper, if you will, map is not formal. Sort of wishy-washy. Functional? I don't see much movement on this map as far as specific point A to point B or nodes. I guess you could stretch it, but that's why I highlighted the word functional, you know. Popular or vernacular? Boy, you betcha. So here's your other quiz of the day. The top map is a popular or a vernacular map, or is it? Actually, the top map is related to the bottom map. Okay, the Church of Latter-day Saints or the Mormon population. Why? Because that particular top map represents, I know, drum roll, maybe not. I sort of gave it away on that other perceptual map that you saw of the United States, because remember, there was a spot that said Jello. I don't know if you were that observant, but I gave it away. That is the area in the United States, and by the way, the entire world, where the most green, lime green Jello, yeah, you heard right, is sold. So you're sitting there. Remember, geographers ask why? Okay, why in that place? Well, because when there are get-togethers, people take Jello salads. And the popular Jello salad happens to be lime when they have social events. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? So that's the why. Always ask why. When you see maps, ask why. When you see the bottom map, ask why. Why is it so colored in like that? Why is it so dark in that place? Or the top map, why is it so fuzzy, and yet why is that the only place in the United States like that? Okay, so always ask that question, why. Let's move on a little bit. Let's understand that regions help put places and events and issues, everything in context, okay? Maybe you've heard about the historic Route 66. Actually, that's a linear region, okay? And that region went obviously from Chicago all the way out to Los Angeles. Along that route, there were various similar things, areas of common characteristics. Route 66. It was probably one of the first major highways, if you will, in this country before the advent of the interstate system. The upper left map is very unique to my state, Oklahoma. This is a region, these are African American or black towns. It has a lot to do with the Civil War and the freedmen. But you can see there is a region, a pretty definite region, as far as African American towns. But we got a couple of outliers, okay? The bottom map is a map that is a physical region. Again, I'm using my state as an example. And remember, use your state for examples in your classroom. This one is of wind, as far as the number of, if you will, the gradient of wind, I should say, that is produced in this state naturally. And of course the red means there is more wind for wind farms and wind turbines in our state, in the western part of the state. So you get the idea. Regions put places, events, and issues, puts everything in context. It's a great tool to use in your classroom. Okay, so let's review. All right, regions, common characteristics. All right, there's always a reason for a particular place or focus, all right? regions within regions, okay? Smaller, larger, within one another. Core and peripheral areas, right? Boundaries, mental or not, could be real boundaries. Help us make sense of places. And of course, the concept of the region, could be used as far as your C3 inquiry toolbox. Because what are we doing? I'm showing you tools in these vignettes in this series on what to take back into your classroom, and it's all going to be part of that C3 framework or C3 structure, okay? Whoop! Don't leave yet. Don't leave just yet. So for the next vignette, okay, for our next session, if you will, I would like you to look over, read, and get really familiar now with the entire packet, with this entire packet, which of course, remember, you can get online, or you might be in a room where somebody has printed these off. But take this packet and really read page for page. Start at the beginning, go page by page, and start looking at this thing up close and personal. Because why? Because it's going to be a very important part, if you will, of the next vignette. See you soon.